Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to edit some wrinkles out of a background when you're photographing newborns. And often you get little, if you don't stretch the blankets too tight enough, then they get little wrinkles in them. And this is a way to fade them out and basically get a very nice smooth background, like in this one over here. Okay, so to start off, I'm just going to use the patch tool first, and I'm going to use the patch tool initially to get rid of the worst ones, and use the patch tool by circling around the area that you want to change and then moving it into a space of color that you like, and then that'll fade it off. Now we'll do that, just go around a little bit with that first, and then once you've done all that you can with that, then you can get just a paintbrush here and use a low opacity brush. So I have about 40% here, and I'm just going to paint over the edges because I don't want it to be this dark anyway. So I'm just going to paint over. This is a little bit dark down here as well. And now obviously this is going to work best where there's no texture really on this blanket except for a little bit under where the baby was, just a very little bit around here, which you can see. But because I was shooting wide open for this shoot, it's easy enough to blur this kind of blanket. So once I've done that, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to clear the spots off his face. Now because I've got Photoshop 5, I've got a spot healing brush tool here, and this one is slightly different to the old CS versions, and it does it with content aware. So you just it's a better way of doing it, but I mean, if you don't have Photoshop 5, you just do it with the old one. So this is just to do it quickly, just for the tutorial. So once I've got rid of that, and also just for the sake of time for this tutorial, I'm going to use portraiture on his skin. So the way I use portraiture is I duplicate the layer, run portraiture just on the default setting, and once it's run, I reduce the opacity to about 50%, and I get the eraser tool at 100%, and I erase the hair along the eye line, the lips, and the eyebrows, and often on the hands as well. So once I'm happy that that's all smooth enough, I'll merge that down, and what I'm also going to do is I'm going to run eye define, and I'm just again going to run along the eyes just to make them stand out a bit better. I'm going to put the opacity up, and the hands. Okay, so to get back to the blanket, I just see a little spot. I'm going to flatten that layer. See a little spot here. There's a little line here. Okay, so once I'm happy with that, I'm just looking at it here, and I actually want to change my crop. I want the baby a little bit with a little bit more space around. So I'm going to make it maybe that size, tilt a little bit so that the baby's head is a bit higher. And once I've got that, I'm going to just stretch the background. Now, again, in Photoshop, in CS5, there's a content-aware stretch which works really nicely, but it's okay for this just to do a normal scale. So just bring it up to the edge, and same here. So if I press Control T, then I can just stretch it out like that. And on the Mac, it's Command T. So we can just stretch it all out on all sides. So once that's done, I'm going to make a new layer. I'm just going to make a new layer. And in here, I'm going to, as my foreground color, I'm going to choose a nice light color that's around his head already. And for the background color, I'm going to choose the color that's there in the corner. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a gradient tool. I'm going to make sure that I've got the radial gradient clicked on up here, and that it's the color. Now I've put the slider of the paler color up sort of around here, because I only really want the dark color in the edges. So I start at the baby's head and I go up to the corner. Oh, whoops. And it's a little bit dark over here, so I'm going to just do that again. I'm going to move this up a little bit further. Okay. So you just keep doing this until you're happy with how it looks. Now I'm going to make a mask tool with that, and I'm with black at 100%. I'm just going to erase back the baby. Okay, so now when I've made sure that there's absolutely none of that gradient on the baby, I can go back in with my white and just clean up around here. So I don't want any of that there. And then I'm going to lower the opacity of my brush, and I'm going to make it pretty low, maybe 25 or so. And then just with little strokes, I'm going to bring back in the foreground where the texture is, because I just want to see a little bit more of that. Okay. Now, depending on how smooth you want it, you can just go forward and back over that until you're happy with it. And you can make it, if it's too smooth, if you feel it's too smooth, you can just lower the opacity of that whole layer. So there you have it, it's nice and smooth. Now what I'm also going to do on this is I'm going to run the warm haze action, which I like for newborns. As you can see, it's made the whole image a little bit warm, so first I'm going to knock them down to about 50%. And on the background here, I don't really want the background to be so yellow. I want it to look more like the original color. So I'm going to take the black at a low opacity of about, say, 25, and I'm going to, well, maybe I'll just move it up a little bit to 50. So I want to bring some of that, the original color back, and I'm going to do the same with the haze. So there's a nice warm newborn with a nice soft background, and there's the original image there to compare them.